So for myself, it's kind of a long story, but I've got 10 minutes, so I hope you don't mind me sharing it. And I'll try to give the Cliff Note version of it in any case. So my ultimate objective in life is one of legacy. And legacy seems like quite a selfish word in a sense. I think a lot of people conjure images of statues, of speeches, of all that sort of stuff, but that's not what I mean by it. I think about two key figures in my life. I think about my granddad, who was a mixture of a Yorkshireman and a Scotsman. And I think about my Uncle Ian, who was a firefighter. My granddad was naturally, being a mixture of a Scotsman and Yorkshireman, was a hardy chap. He would not take any rubbish. He would be very direct. He was a huge personality. But everything he did was grounded in love, and love specifically for our family. But also, there just wasn't a bad bone in his body. He'd be so willing to help people out. He lived a life which was, he was a football player, he was a music agent, he was a paratrooper, he was a teacher. He was all these things. So he lived life to the fullest, but he did everything he did with love. When he died, I'm not particularly spiritual or anything like that, but what it taught me was that he left in me a legacy of love, and that's love for myself, but also the willingness and desire to sort of spread love to other people. Yeah. The second person was my Uncle Ian, who, as I say, was a firefighter, and he died when I was 6 months old. Being a firefighter, he was saving someone else's life, and sort of gave it for that person. Now, that was an act of courageousness and bravery. So if I think about the legacy that my uncle left in me, it was of courageousness and bravery where required. Now, granted, as a marketer, I don't do that in the same way as he did, but I do what I can to sort of be brave and be that person who can help other people, and not sort of, put myself first. I try to put others first. So when I think about these two people, they've both left a legacy within me, which I am now sharing in other people. And I think we all have that within us, that we have the ability to leave part of us in other people, and that's your legacy. So when I think about my own, I just think about kindness. I think that I want to leave a legacy of kindness in other people, people thinking about other people before they think of themselves. So really, that's the guiding principle of my life, and something that will act as a guiding principle for my professional life too. So when people ask me about the future of the Marketing Meetup, I think they ask me about the strategic stuff, but I think about the underpinnings of what we're trying to achieve. And what we're trying to achieve is spreading kindness throughout wherever we can. Now, the way that we do that as a business is that we grow. We grow in lots of different places and share that message with other people, physically, but also digitally. Right now, there's not an opportunity to grow our physical events, so we're going to be looking to grow our digital stuff. That means making our SEO work really well and make sure that the platform's as useful as it is possible.
If I can jump in at that point, I'll throw out another controversial statement, but I really enjoy the virtual side to it. It's almost because as a person who's busy, I almost mentally allocate a certain amount of time per week on different stuff, and actually, or say a month. So it's almost where, yes, you could go to a local meetup, and the local guys will hate me for saying this, and interact in person, which I still love doing. But actually, in many ways, the virtual stuff, it gives me access to people that I would never otherwise meet. And actually, so I think it's leveled up. It's gone to that next level. And it might have already been there, but again, because it's new to me. But I actually really like the way it seems to be going, and that's just completely selfishly as a user of the meetup.
Absolutely. I think it's just about providing options. I think there's merits in both, and if we have the ability to do both, then we will. I think right now we've got an either-or situation, well, not even an either-or. We've got one very specific route that we can follow, so that's the one we're going to follow. But I agree with you wholeheartedly. I was so nervous about how events would translate to being online, but it's been really great. And not only have we increased our reach, but people are getting the arguably, they already got an unreal level of information from our speakers anyway, but now we're getting like top 20 speakers in the entire world.
As a user stroke member, I genuinely get value from it. I really do. And I think what's interesting, or it's a sign of anything good, it's the fact that there'll be people who work for themselves, but they just do, say, SEO, or they just do graphic design. It's if you can put on stuff where everyone gets value, even though their backgrounds are different. And just as an engineer more on the business strategy growth side, I really enjoy it. I really do. Conscious, like we're kind of short on time, just to kind of close, what would be your advice to your younger self? Like kind of what's the best piece of advice you ever had? What would you like to kind of leave with the world? Or what would you say to yourself kind of 5 years ago?
Don't worry about being the richest person in the world. Just worry about being kind. I think that's been the one pivot point in my career. There was a time where I optimized my life and money, didn't get anything more from it than I do now, which is, the money will come. I'm certain of it, but it will be done in a way which is also consistent with being kind. So,
because I think that's almost the thing that I really enjoy is working for myself. I earn less now than I used to, but I do more of the stuff I do more, and I'm so much happier. And what was quite funny, one of my friends, Josh, he's a lecturer in philosophy, and he spoke to me about 1.5 years ago when I was quite unhappy in a former job, and he asked me if I was flourishing, and at the time I wasn't. And actually, I had a meeting back, I think it was in January. It was with an accountant in Darlington. And the meeting itself wasn't in anything. It was with a very nice lady, but it was about nothing in particular. But in the car on the drive back up, the half an hour with music on, I realized I was happy. And it's that intangible that I've learned that, the two aren't connected. Yes, you still need to pay your bills and whatever, but actually I'm so much more happy and fulfilled and stuff doing the creative stuff that I do now. Even as stupid as these kind of live streams are, I love trying to figure things out and whatever.
No, you got to try this stuff.
So have you got any nice plans for the weekend just before we kind of disappear? Walking the dogs?
I don't think so. Yeah, my wife works for the NHS, so we're quite lucky in that we've actually got that structure to our life still. So I'll be spending some quality time with her as she's at work all day, every day.
Well, because of that, I won't interrupt you anymore. Thank you, Joe, for your time. I genuinely really appreciate it. I will continue to comment on tweets and live blogs and ask silly questions and whatever. And, kind of please stay in touch. And I'm sure we'll kind of, keep in touch.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much for taking the time and for anyone.
And thank your wife for everyone as well.
Well, she's a superstar.